Hello, and in this video we're going to show you how we made this, my workshop. Let's take a look at the site. It's a basic garden plot that's 3 metres by 2.5 metres. I can build no more than 2.5 metres in height to the eaves, comply with planning regulation, with exit onto the lawn so I can keep the space in the corner. Now I could have gone with a more traditional workshop or shed design, but it didn't seem to suit the space, so I decided to go for a summerhouse style design. Big wide doors that open at the front and plenty of light is a key selling point here. So on day one we begin by painting the panels, starting with the 2 panels at the back and the one that is on the right hand side. This is because when the shed's assembled we won't be able to reach these panels again due to the fence. We're using Cuprinol's garden shades, and their website contained a massive information. It's really good, including a very intuitive colour picker. Allowed us to choose the colour and see what it looked like in real life. Now the reality is that the forget-me-not that we chose, that's the colour shade, was much lighter in real life. It's quite thin paint, the coverage was good, and this took about 2 hours and we used about 3 litres of their paint. So day 2 is all about the base. I've made a SketchUp model here to just sort of work out all of the material sizes that I need. Now I was concerned about the base not being level, so factored in some little blocks to go in the corners to help level the base out. In reality we only needed the one. The model here is now complete with a representation of the floor. So essentially this is just a question of measuring out, marking and then cutting to length on the miter saw. Now all of this took probably about 15 minutes to cut the material to length. It's a relatively straightforward butt jointed frame. I'm using a jig here really to hold the pieces in place while I drill out and then screw into each end of the long rails. There are 5 long rails and 2 ends. That's obviously a task I repeat 10 times, but the jig really does make light work of getting the alignment right and allowing you to sort of complete this in no time at all. So we now move on to just sort of bracing the frame a little bit more. 2 pieces get dropped in, they're on the halfway line, and they're intended to help support the shed base, which comes in 2 halves, as you'll see. So day 3 we get to assemble the shed, starting with the doors into the door panel and the furniture fitted. And then we just go round and with 3 screws pre-drill and screw each panel together. So it's three screws on each join. I'm using clamps here to support the panel as I drill and screw, and I use another clamp to support the ridge as I put that up and then fix at both ends with brackets. Now some blocks have to be screwed to the side of the shed to support the rafters. There are 6 of those, again using clamps. And each rafter is fitted with 2 screws at either end. Now the resulting roof is actually very strong. It looks pretty lightweight from here, but with the sheet material screwed to those rafters, it really is quite a solid roof structure. Now I use clamps again to hold these brace pieces in whilst I screw those in, so that just sort of triangulates the roof trusses. That's more strength still. And I'm using clamps once more to stop the sheets from sliding off the back. just basically screwing where I can reach. What you won't see is any of the work at the back of the shed. The time-lapse footage really doesn't do a very good job of capturing the action, so that's kind of omitted. But essentially everything you can see me do at the front is repeated at the back. So screws everywhere I can reach, essentially. The more screws the better. So we move to day 3, which is felting and adding the trim. Felting is such a simple operation. To get the actual felt on the roof, you just stretch it out and then tack it in place. Now the idea is, as I live in rented accommodation, a rented house, this shed should be easy to assemble and disassemble and move. The roof felt here is pretty good quality, but is £30 a roll. Is the sort of stuff that gets skipped as we move. Now I'm applying some trim, and I really made a mistake in not painting everything up first. It would have been so much quicker and easier to get the trim painted before putting it onto the shed. This took a while to get a nice decent paint job. It's just part of sort of the finishing. As you can see here, ahead of time, I'm just painting the strips that are going to go on the gable ends. Now, one of the things that we didn't do in the shed build itself was fit some weather strips to the underside of the eaves. This just helps with rain runoff. And with those fitted, we can then go about trimming the roof felt and neatening up the front of the shed. And this was probably the biggest change in terms of the look of the shed since it was put together. I was really pleased with that. Now once the shed is actually complete with the roof on, you can go about screwing it then down into the base. And I think we're a little bit later on in the day in a mow. Let's see, yep, here we go. And now with the paint dry on those gable end strips, they can be fitted. Like before, just simply screw in and then trim to length, and once again you'll see in a sec the finished result. And I have to say, it's just a really neat finish. Very, very good indeed. And this is really the last day, or should I say the last morning. It's about an hour's worth of work really. I've got some larch featherboard here which I'm painting up in the colour that I've used for the doors, which is a light grey. This isn't Cuprinol paint, this is from Bunnings, one of their own in-house brands. Each strip needs to be just sort of trimmed to width with the circular saw. And then sort of tried, marked, trimmed, and then fitted in place. And this really does neaten up the base, hides the softwood base, and makes for a really tidy finish. Very impressed with that, as you can see. And that's pretty much the build done, just a little bit of tidying away. Then we move really on to just some finishing bits and pieces. So the shed needs some power. It comes in through a sort of grommet drilled into the side of the shed. And in my case, this is just a large extension lead which terminates into an existing box that I have in another shed in the garden. And then finally, I guess, is the door furniture. We have a locks top and bottom with a sort of bolt style lock in the centre. That works quite nicely, and there we are, we're done. Okay, so that's it. It took 4 days, and there's a little bit more work to be done. I've got some painting inside, and on top of that, external door handles to fit, the internal door handles, and generally getting the thing completely watertight with some sealing. And then after that, it's putting the lights up, making some benches, and getting on and making stuff. So anyway, thank you for joining me. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't, the other button seems to work quite well. And please do subscribe. There'll be new videos probably every week around about Thursday or Friday until I can get myself sorted with the workshop. And anyway, thank you for joining me. That's all.